For more on the crisis in Syria and Iran's involvement around the negotiating table, I'm joined by Negar Mortazavi. She's an Iranian-American journalist and a former television host. Negar, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
So Iran is a key player in the region. There's no doubt about that. But how significant is it that it was actually invited to take part in these key negotiations in Vienna?
Asieh, it was very important for the United States and the allies at these talks to finally invite Iran, which is one of the two main sponsors of the current government of Bashar al-Assad in Syria. Iran, as we know, was disinvited 2 years ago from the peace talks because of the political marginalization of Iran by the United States for many decades. And now it seems like after the success of the nuclear talks, specifically between Iran and the U.S., it looks like doors have opened up for more collaboration and cooperation in the region.
And of course, at the heart of the Syrian talks, everyone is saying they're going to be talking about Assad and his future. And so much division and different opinions when it comes to his future. Can they really make any headway when there's no consensus on Assad?
Well, that's why these talks are happening, and we have to wait and see what comes out of the negotiation room. Of course, the two main sides, especially Iran and Saudi, have been very strict as far as their position on Assad. Saudi Arabia and the U.S., of course, they've been very clear that the solution cannot be with the continuation of Assad in power, while Iran and Russia, the two main supporters of Assad, have been insisting on supporting him, keeping Assad in power. And finally, Iran's position, at least the administration, is sort of shifting a little bit to the side of a political solution. And if Assad is to be removed from power through a political solution. But so far, it looks like the two sides want very different things, and that's why we have to wait and see what comes out of the negotiations.
And granted, you mentioned they do want different things, but the fact you have Iran, Saudi Arabia, Russia, Turkey, United States, all these major players sitting around the same table, that by itself, many would say, is progress.
Of course, and I think the main light for this, for the hope coming out of these negotiations, is the success of the nuclear negotiations, the 2-year tough nuclear negotiations that happened between Iran and P5+1, including the United States. And many were skeptical of those negotiations. A lot of people didn't have hope in the world community for those negotiations to be successful, but they came to be successful. They were able to break a deal and adopt it, and it's supposed to go into effect. So I think that has given a lot of hope for just diplomacy and negotiation as a new solution for a lot of these conflicts in the Middle East.
Negar, what do you make of the fact that Syria's government, no representative from Syria's government, rebels either trying to overthrow the government, no one representing Syria is present at these talks, and yet they're discussing the fate and future of this country?
I think it's a bit ironic, of course. The Syrian people, the Syrian government, and like you said, the opposition or the rebels, none of them have a seat at the table where the future of the country and the society is going to be determined. But I think the way the world is seeing it, or the negotiators, is that there's enough support on both sides of this negotiations to sort of balance the power and come with a solution in a conflict. But this just shows how Syria has become a battleground for a lot of different forces, not including the Syrian government or the Syrian people. It's just been a battleground for Iran and Syria, for the U.S. and Russia in the past 4 years. And it's just unfortunate that over 200,000 people have been killed and thousands have been displaced during this really bloody war.
Negar Mortazavi, thank you so much for your take.